Climbers, an artist's job is to be vulnerable, and the one thing artists are most afraid of is being vulnerable. So it's no wonder that all the people on the planet that have to deal with haters, artists are the absolute worst at dealing with it. So today, we're going to give you some tools and break this down a little bit psychologically to help you deal with haters externally and internally. So check this one out.
Awesome.
Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business, baby. Like, that's the good news. You don't need to pray for anybody to like you or to help you. You got to do it your dang self. It's in your own hands. You get a little momentum going, and everybody's going to come out of the woodwork, and everything, and I mean everything on the planet is negotiable. And the more leverage you have, the better deal you get, baby. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. Brent came up with that, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's a good friend and my co-host, also a hit songwriter who cares about who? You, the songwriter, because that's what I love about him. He wants to help you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro. And for years, on a regular basis, he's been helping you get in front of other pros that can help you on your climb. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Yeah, it's complicated, but he is smart. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production, singular, no S. There's no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Buddy, we're, for the first time since, I believe we started this podcast, maybe the first time in 7 years, we're recording late at night.
That's right. I was just thinking about that going, man, we haven't done this in years, like since like late 2017, probably. Like it's been a minute. Praise the Lord.
The way I'm feeling right now, like, how the hell did we pull that off? Like, I do not know.
Because we had to. We had to because I had to.
That's right. We had to step up.
I had other obligations during the day while we started this podcast. And now,
that's right.
I'm footloose and fancy free, baby.
No, I guess the moral of this story right here is I'm getting soft because I remember us starting podcasts at like 11 p.m. and it's 9:30 and I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
I know. It's like, I got to get the kids in bed, Johnny. Then I'll be Johnny on the spot.
I kids in bed. I got to get my teeth in the jar by 10.
That's right.
So anyway, I'm having a cocktail. It's been a long day, but a good day.
Well, mostly, yeah.
Met a climber today. I met Johnny Guest.
Awesome. Hey, Johnny Guest.
And his wife, and what a couple of wonderful people they are. They're super sweet. He
Awesome.
said he's been in Songwriting Pro for a while, and got a bunch out of that. And
awesome.
Was thankful told me to tell you hi, and thankful for all the knowledge you bestowed upon him. So
that's awesome. I get jealous because you run into more people live than I do, but
well, this was like, he actually reached out to me because they're from Michigan, but they're in Nashville, and he wanted to swing by and talk some business. So that's what we were able to do. And
awesome.
Yeah, and we just got into talking about that. That's cool.
Excellent. Well, speaking of business, we probably need to take care of a little bit, right? Or what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to talk about haters. I mean, I just kind of you have a hook book. I have a little climb hook book that's depleting of ideas for when I get caught with my pants down like I did today, because I ended up on a phone call that went way too long, and we were supposed to record at 7:30, and I fumbled the football on that. So thank you for being willing to do it at 9:30. But anyway, yeah. So
we don't make it to 418 episodes by giving up easily.
That's it. Darn tootin'.
That's
right. So
yeah,
let's take care of a little business here. Join the C.L.I.M.B community. If you have not done it already, go to facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M B community. and it asks to be let in. We let everybody in as long as you don't look nefarious or
Mhm.
sus, like the kids say, sus,
They
sus.
do.
If you look sus, you ain't getting in. All right, and this is a place to hang out, man. I mean, this is like you can shout about your gigs, your songs, your recordings, your wins from the treetops, and get a lot of people just patting you on the back, going, "Good job, welcome to the climb. We're happy that you're here."
That's right.
And you can get some good information in there as well. Actually, got a compliment. Speaking of Johnny Guest today,
Mhm.
it made my evening. He was like, you talk about cutting edge. He goes, every time I turn on the podcast, like you're talking about something that's going down, and I didn't even know it was going down. And like you always know. And I was like, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And he's like, you always got a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Um, there are times when I think you and I have opinions on stuff, Brent, and but I feel like we try to serve it up just the facts and as best we can,
Mhm.
and let you think about it. Sometimes they'll be like, we feel this way, but we're not like spinning the show to try to lead you one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm as they say in Spinal Tap, I envy us because of that. I'm proud of us.
That's funny.
Anyway, we got some wins. We celebrate the wins and we
Yes.
share when you celebrate the wins on the Facebook and the client community. We celebrate the wins on the podcast and love all over you. So, what we got going on today?
That's right. As always, there are more wins going on than we have time to share, but we want to share some of these. So, Kristen, I always say I don't know how to say your last name. So, we're going to have to meet sometime and you can tell me how to pronounce it. But Christian Bud or Buddy or Booty, I don't know. Budde. Anyway, she
Well, they
said,
call her booty in school,
K
and that's
Bood,
probably
K Booty.
traumatizing.
That probably
K booty,
was
what's
K
up, K
Booty.
booty? K booty.
It said, playing
Now
in a,
she's just gonna be that from now on for
I
me.
know,
Like, I'm
sorry.
like, what's up, K boo?
Next time, just, be like phonetically, it's this rhymes with always works. But anyway, playing a showcase for Tennessee Songwriters Week this Friday after passing through a qualifying round last month. So congrats, Kristen, on playing that for Tennessee Songwriters Week. That's awesome. And of course, you have people, going there giving it at girls and congratulations and stuff, which we do because we know where to find it because you put it as a comment under the New Heights post. So they know where to go and congratulate you. Randy Fincham says, got a surprise on my CSAC statement a few weeks back showing a TV show in France played one of my songs. That is a first for me. So awesome,
Nice.
Randy. Congrats on that. And yeah, so we have others, but this is kind of what we have time for right now. But congrats to Kristen and
Well,
Randy. And
let's talk about our win with the Arkansas. Uh,
we have a win that we want to turn into a bigger win. This is where y'all can come in. The Climb Show is nominated for the
hold on, before you
yeah.
start. Like, I'm gonna make this an official statement
Okay.
and an official request. We're coming up on 8 years. We've been giving, expecting nothing in return.
So
Well, we're calling in a favor right now.
that's right. That's right.
I'm calling in a favor. All right, go.
All right. So the Climb Show has been nominated for the 2024 Arkansas Country Music Awards. How did we get nominated for that? Well, one thing, I'm an Arkie, so there we go. That's our connection to that. Um,
Nice.
and we're nominated in the category of Best Publication / Blog / Podcast. So we're one of the final nominees, and voting runs from March 1st through March 14th. So at the time this comes out, you'll have a couple days to get ready, to get your clicking finger ready, because we want you to
Yeah.
click on over to arkansasmusic.org, and then it has a thing up at the top. You can click vote, but arkansasmusic.org, and you can go vote for us, and we would appreciate it. And it's fun seeing some friends of mine that are also
Mhm.
nominated in different categories, and always a good time. So I'm going to see if I can make it down there to Arkansas and Conway to go to the live event. But yeah, we would appreciate your vote. Let's see, March 1st through the 14th, arkansasmusic.org.
We'll put a link up in the show notes so you can just click
Faux
and vote.
show.
Click and
That's
vote.
right.
Click and vote. So, have you ever
Exactly.
been to one of those
No,
events?
I've not. I've been wanting to, but they finally just had to nominate me to really make me really consider it. It's hard to get out of
It's
the
a good
house,
time.
man. It's hard
Kids
to
are
get
so
out of the
busy.
house.
We're so busy.
So
Well, So one more win I want to talk about our win. Like, so I got to love on Brent a little bit. So I remember we got 100 episodes in on Song Title Challenge, and then it hit me like a 2-ton heavy thing, and I'm like, we have so many friends that are songwriters. Why the
Mhm.
hell are we not inviting them on as a third to
Yeah.
bring them into the room and do Song Title Challenge with us?
Well,
Because there'd be so many benefits to that, right?
well, I
Like,
know why we didn't, because it's like extra phone calls.
yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, more work to do,
More
but I
work.
mean, it was like this would be what a great way to, like, reinvigorate old relationships so that you can get into some rooms,
Oh my
and it
gosh.
it and it
Yeah.
starts relationships for me, because
Mhm.
then, now I be like, "Hey, man, you wanna write with my artist?" Or something like that, like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And we did it. Now we're like, what, 60 in
Let's
or
see. I think we're 60 in on
or
those. We're about to
61?
drop episode 161 of that, so it'd be our 61st one with a pro guest.
And so you and I were joking, we're just like, "What? How?" I was almost, like, disappointed with myself because I'm like, like, why didn't so obvious, like, why didn't we think about that
Yeah.
before, And I'm like, "Well, we just gotta take them one nightmare at a time," And
Yeah.
then Brent comes up with this brilliant freaking idea, like, what, a couple months ago or maybe a month ago, I can't remember
About a
how long
month.
ago.
Yeah, it started basically start of the year.
Yeah, so at start of year, he's like, we both got lists and we send out the podcast, the people on our list, and we're going that, but we both have like a lot of industry contacts, and we
Mhm.
should create a list where we're shipping out the podcast to specifically to industry people.
Mhm.
And you said that, and I was just like, I felt like an idiot. I'm like, well, duh, of course, that's genius. Why? Why didn't we do that before? You're like, hey, man, just like you told me, bro. Like, we just gotta take them one nightmare at a time. And
Yeah.
now, what do we have? We got labels reaching out. Hey, put our artists on.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Like
"All right, man, we like
I
that." Like, that
yeah.
worked out really right quick. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What do we
Like,
do?
"Oh,
What do we do? We asked. We just said, "Hey, we're here," and they're like, "Oh, you could
yeah. Oh, you're
talk to
here?
some
You
artists."
exist? Oh, well, there we go."
By the
I
way,
know.
those labels, those artists on that label, I went and saw my boy Brandon the other night because he's
Mhm.
got this. He's put together this. He can sound like it remarkably like James Taylor,
Oh,
and he's a brilliant singer and a killer musician, killer writer, just a real deal guy, and he has put together like a tribute band James Taylor, so he didn't have to work a day job anymore. He can go do this thing.
nice.
And I was like, dude, like, yeah, but he was asking me like, what do you think about that? Like, I was just like, I don't pass go, like just collect your $200. Like,
G
why aren't you doing that? Right. Like,
Yeah.
ditch the day job on the side. And so I said, go for, there's a million, really good agencies, like booking agencies out there just dealing tribute bands. I said,
Mhm.
with as good as you sound, you'll get it in a heartbeat. He's got the biggest one, and it's all happening. Well, I went out and saw they did like a little rehearsal at the local a couple
Yeah.
days ago, and it was like 4:30 to 5:30, and so I popped in and caught like the last couple of songs, and we just had a minute to talk because guess what? He was headed over to that label to do some writing and a couple other things like that. I'm like, well, tell
Nice.
her I said hi, and blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Like, so we got to come in the side door too
We're
for that.
get them
So,
surrounded.
yeah, it's a small group.
And
So
so
anyway,
little lesson for that, it means when you got a target you're trying to hit as an whether you're a writer trying to get to somebody, an artist trying to get somebody to label or whatever, you get them surrounded.
yeah,
Multiple points of contact. So that's the lesson in that is like come at them from all directions.
yeah, that's right. And then take it, like, because I didn't hesitate. I'm like, you're going where? Really? Okay. Do you know so and so? Yeah. Yeah. Go tell her this. And then
Yeah.
we had another angle in there.
And
Like,
next thing you know, you're famous to that person because you're like, I hear about them everywhere.
exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's so
So
fun when that
little
happens.
free tip for y'all.
All right, so let's go the other way and talk about some haters.
Haters. All right.
um, I just had some different conversations, I guess, with some artists in the somewhat recent past about haters, and that's what kind of gave me the idea just to maybe share some tools that I use to deal with this, like internally and externally,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 also put a better perspective on it. Okay,
Yeah.
because I think with perspective comes um, peace. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if you think about like if you live day to day, let's say you look at it like a stock market chart, you know,
Mhm.
and it's like jagged ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and
Yeah.
downs, and your day to day, you'll climb a tower with a gun, right? But when you get
Yeah.
perspective and you zoom out, all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're trending upward though.
Yeah.
So today sucks because we're on this huge down thing, but you know what? We're still ahead of the game. We're still playing our house money,
Mhm.
and it's been forever increasing since we started the stock market way back in whenever
Yeah.
100 years ago, and there's no evidence that that's ever going to disappear. You know,
Well,
like we
it's
keep getting more productive.
if you look at your career like day to day, it's kind of like thinking about global warming and you're like, "Oh my gosh, the way the temperatures have been going up the last 2 weeks, like we're all about to die." You're like, "Dude, it's spring."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you only look at the past 2 weeks, it was like, it's getting warmer because summer's coming. Like, why don't we look at the long term? Oh, or at the other end of the year, "Oh my gosh, we're all about to die of we're all gonna freeze to death." Dude,
Yeah.
it's just getting to be wintertime. This is what happens. You look at the
Yeah, because
long
there's
term,
often
right?
and there's often like there's other stuff that can explain it, you know, which but it's kind of like
But
that.
that's
It's a
like
nice segue
that's where we're
right into what we're going to talk about.
yes, long view of it.
Yeah, it's a long view. You have to, you know, and um, but I mean, what's an artist's strength is usually like empathy, you know,
Mhm,
and so they feel other people's pain and they're able to translate it and they're able to do that. So it's hard to let that go. But I will tell you that um, part of your job description as an artist is you have to be compelling. You know,
mhm.
if you're not if you don't have any haters, and we've said this before on the show, you're not doing it right. Like that, you should be freaking out about not having haters,
Yeah,
not
because
about
that means you
having haters.
yeah, it's like, does vanilla have haters?
Does what?
Does
Vanilla? No,
vanilla have haters?
no.
No, but is it anyone's favorite? It's kind of the thing of, you gotta be a strong enough flavor for someone to love it. If the opposite of love isn't hate, the opposite of love is apathy.
Yes, yes. I don't care. And
You just
when they
avoid
hate it,
apathy.
you're really
They care.
you're they care, and your job as an artist is to make them feel something.
Right.
You
Mhm.
know, now you're got this target over here that you're aiming for, and it may not be pleasing to you as an artist to find out that you made somebody really feel something that was far removed from the target you're aiming for.
Mhm.
So I get that, but you're making them feel something.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do because you're right. You know what the worst thing in the world is? Apathy,
Yeah.
boring.
The worst
Like,
thing my song can do is leave somebody the way it found them.
yeah.
If it doesn't produce some sort of change emotionally or whatever, then it's failed. Love it or hate.
There-
I kind of think of it the way I think about my jokes, my puns, my dad jokes. I'm like,
Thank God your songs are better than your dad jokes.
yeah, I spend longer on them typically. But if I make my kids laugh or roll their eyes and groan, possibly fall on the floor from disgust, either is equally good.
Job done. Yeah. Job well done.
Job done. Mission accomplished. I got a response, baby. I'm good either way. You heard one. Thank you. I'll be here all night. I'm dad. I live here. So, I mean, really, the same
That's
way with
right.
songs, like love it or hate it, it's going to be well done. So then it's just a matter of taste.
Yeah. Yeah. So people, when you're compelling, when you're a really compelling artist, what that means is that people are going to feel strongly about you one way or the other. This is what we're discussing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
love or hate, you're winning because if they're passionate about their opinion of you, then that means you're doing your job right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of how when we talk about marketing and stuff on here, and I have to remind artists that they have the curse of knowledge with music, right?
Mhm.
because you can, as an artist and a songwriter, you can listen to a song once, a demo once, a sound recording, a master sound recording once, and you're in, and you
Mhm.
see the three dimensionality of it, and you hear the kick drum, and there's a P bass in there, and you might even know who's playing that P bass, but that's not the experience of your average listener.
Mhm.
They're going to hear it 7 times before they stop ignoring it in their brain.
Right.
So you have the curse of knowledge. Well, when it comes to haters, you have the curse of knowledge too, because you're going to react to that based and look at that through a certain lens, right? And as long as you have awareness of that lens, it can what's the word I'm gonna look for? Like quell the overwhelming feelings of the yucky feelings,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh, okay, here's why I'm reacting. Like example, right? Maybe you're the kind of person that loves the underdog, right?
Mhm.
So then you'll formulate an opinion on a new artist based on the rhetoric. Maybe someone is if someone is disparaging an artist, right? Your natural instinct will be to defend them because you defend
Mm.
the underdogs and you believe in
Yeah.
the underdogs. Um, Maybe someone is approving of an artist who's quote unquote like underground, right? Like
Mhm.
this is cool because it's not cool, right? Because it's
Yeah.
underground. Nobody knows about it, right? And then you'll approve that too because that's consonant with like your underdog core value, you
Mhm.
know? Um, and the opposite is true. If you're the kind of person who always bets on a winner, right? You love the winner, you love the front runner, all that. Then what are you gonna react to? The success of an artist, right?
Yeah.
And the perception of success could manifest itself when a fan defends a naysayer or a hater on social media or something like that. Um, so what lens are you looking at it through? Do you have trauma in your childhood?
Mhm.
As from haters, right? And maybe you're reacting to that. I don't want haters to be the reason you tap out. I don't want haters to ever be a reason you get self-doubt,
Mhm.
you know? You have to understand this with perspective, and and there has to be an intentional psychological approach to how you receive this information because it's not going to stop. I mean, uh think about Taylor Swift, right, with the football and all this.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
my God, it's the dumbest thing ever, and it's getting so ridiculous. I mean, we've already had the Super Bowl and everything, but it got so out of hand that part of me was like, "Man, did she come up with this?" Like, because that would be brilliant, right? Because here's the news, like, did you see the news? Did you see the numbers on what a Super Bowl commercial costs for 30 seconds?
No, I haven't seen that this year.
$7 million.
Woo, for 30 seconds. Okay.
Taylor Swift got 57 seconds of airtime on the Super Bowl. Because we love to
Sure.
hate her so much, right? And there's all these people like making such a big stink about her,
Mhm.
and the airtime she gets when they something good happens, bad happens with the
Yeah.
Chiefs, whatever. They shoot to Taylor. What is she going to do? And
Yeah.
that's $14 million of free press,
Not counting all the coverage of her coverage,
which is
right?
way more. Like it's got to be 100x,
Yeah.
for sure,
Mhm.
100x.
Yeah.
And so you when you're hit with that, I mean, you're gonna react, right? And the question is now, when you react, like, how do you examine your feelings, right?
Mhm.
How are you gonna process this information? If you're going to just be reactionary, you're gonna be a train wreck,
Yeah.
and I don't want that for you.
Mhm.
I don't. It's exhausting. And it creates hurdles that allows you to get in your own way because some jerk said something bad? Like, you want
Yeah.
the terrorists to win, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not okay, and so you have to be like, "Okay, hold on. Feel bad if you did something wrong, you know? Listen, nobody's without sin, right? I've done bad things before, right? Things I
Mhm.
regret, things I shouldn't have done, made somebody feel bad
Yeah,
or
same.
whatever, and when that's on me, I'm like, do I feel bad then? Yeah, because I got that coming to me, you know?
Mhm.
But for a rando hater that just, you know, eh, wants to really just has the intention of getting over on you,
Mhm.
if you just take a beat after the reaction hits and your heart stops and you're like, "Oh, no, somebody doesn't like me," you know?
Mhm.
Um, and then you just take that beat and you realize you center, right? You're like, "Okay, wait, I don't even know who this person is. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. I'm okay." And then what happens is actually that empathetic wire that you have in your soul
Mhm.
will start to fire in the right position, which is instead of feeling that pain and then all of a sudden hating on yourself as well. All of a sudden you're like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on?" You know,
Mhm.
because you realize it's on them because you don't even know this person. You didn't do
Yeah,
it
it's
wrong.
not personal. I mean, "Hey, you did something wrong and you hurt my feelings," in a personal way is different than, "Hey, you suck. You
Yeah,
don't sing well. You play guitar for crap," whatever. That's a totally different thing than, "Hey, by the way, here's this moral failure on your part." Those are different conversations. A lot of time they make up both, right? I've been having I'm writing with, our buddy Wilkes, friend of the show,
hmm
and Haley Benedict, friend of the show as
hmm
well. And boy, there've been some fun conversations because they're both uh, really good artists as well as good
yeah,
writers. And so it's fun. Actually, I just kind of sit back and let them talk about it because they're doing stuff and they're compelling, and so they catch hate, right?
yeah,
So Haley will get stuff like,
yes,
"That's not how you play Crazy Train." When she does some TikTok, she's a really good guitar player, man. She's got chops. She's earned them. But she's like,
yes,
there are different ways to play that. This is this version and that and she knows because she's educated. She knows what she's doing. Or
yeah.
other people maybe say, no, that's not how you do it, and they're completely wrong. Or, and they'll get Jason going, oh, well, if I had $1 million worth of studio equipment too, I could sound like that, like you're all auto-tuned. And Wilkes is a vocal panther, and he's like, okay, and
Auto-tune? I know, that's funny. That's right there just shows how ignorant they are, It's like,
yeah,
you think you hear auto-tune?
yeah. So
You don't know what auto
he educates his community because he'll do videos, and he's a fun follow, Wilkes Music, but about like,
Yeah,
here's my gear. This microphone, it captures my voice. It does not
yep.
enhance my voice. It captures, and he'll go through like all of his
It
gear.
painfully captures everything that's happening
Yeah.
with my voice, and
Right.
so if I haven't done all the work that I've done on my voice to make it sound as good as it does when it's captured, it's gonna capture crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just yeah, so it's going to be a good representation of whatever's there. But anyway, so that's been fun to hear some of their conversations going, "Oh, I had this one guy say this one thing." And they can laugh about it because they know they're secure
'Cause they
and they
don't
know
take it
what they're doing.
seriously. Yeah,
They know
man,
what they're doing. They know they're pros, and they're like, "Yeah, but they're
Yeah,
climbing."
and, by the way, just a shout out to Wilkes. I think today marks since he came out with that, the sad thing
Mhm.
and I've made some comments prior to that post on, about, like, the work that he's been doing
Mhm.
on social media, right? Like, he's
Mhm.
just dug in. This dude is dug in. Go look at his I want you guys to go look at his Reels account on Instagram and
Mhm.
scroll all the way to the bottom, the first reel he made, and take note of the amount of traffic that he had. It wasn't much.
Yeah, and you can
And
find him
then
at Wilkes Music, Wilkes Music on
yeah,
Insta.
and then just keep sort of slowly scrolling up, and you'll start to see, like, it's just, meh, 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 boring number, low number, whatever, whatever. But he was consistent, he kept
Mhm.
going, and then it started to ratchet up, ratchet up, ratchet up, and now he's got, like, I think one with, like, 500,000 views. He's got a couple
Mhm.
handfuls, 70, 80, 100,000 views. Got the 1.1 million, and that is, by the
Oh,
way, on
1.6 million as of right now.
is that 1.6? Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
And that's on Instagram Reels. I think his TikTok's even better. Like,
Probably
you know,
so.
he's It's from the consistent work. And so, Wilkes, I'm just here to give you a shout out because I have used your account for like the fourth or fifth time in the last 3 weeks to send to other artists like Chop Chop Cowboy. Look, this is what you need to be doing. Look at this guy. Look at what this guy's doing right here. And but I want to show him the humble beginnings of the
Mhm.
account. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't just come out of the box like a friggin' rock star with the numbers. He came out of
Right.
the box like a rock star with his talent.
Yeah.
But nobody gave a crap about it, only a couple hundred people or whatever, because
Yeah.
he'd only
They didn't
done
know
1 or
yet.
2 or 3 posts. They didn't know, yeah, and they hadn't seen it, so it was a big deal, and yeah, that there it is, the haters, and I'm thinking of right now, I've got a very unique client in, my number 1 corporate client's father
Mhm.
was the defense attorney on a very,
Oh.
very, very super big, famous true crime murder case called the West Memphis Three.
Mhm.
Multiple documentaries about it, a feature film about it, and he just came out with a book after 30 years of silence, and he's telling his side of the story, and I'm promoting the book. And um, part of that story is these kids that it's the 10-second version is 3 teenage kids got put in one sentence to death, 2 others that were sentenced to life plus 40 years with zero evidence whatsoever because they were weird, and they were convicted of a murder of 3 8-year-old kids in this
Mhm.
town. And this was in 1993, and it was the height of, like, we were out of our minds in this country on devil worshiping stuff,
Mhm.
right? Like Geraldo Rivera had a primetime show about witchcraft and devil worshiping and stuff, and so
Mhm.
everybody was just on it, on that note, right? They were hitting that note. And because these kids wore like dark clothes, and one of them was goth, and it changed his name
Mhm.
to Damien. It was like named after like a saint or something. And also listened to Metallica.
Mhm.
And that was the devil's music.
Which who
Okay.
didn't, by the way, in
Right.
1993, because Enter
Yeah.
Sandman was, you know.
Yeah, huge. And but you know what? That was deemed the devil's music, and now all of a sudden Metallica's on trial too, right? And so
Mhm.
they got a lot of haters because of all this stuff. It happened to Ozzy Osbourne. It happened to Judas Priest. Like, these are
Mhm.
bands who were just accused, and all this hate welled up because if you play this backwards, it says this or that, and they just the weirdest trials that they had to go through on account of what haters, man. It cost them millions,
Mhm.
to have to do it, but you're not doing it right if you don't have haters, like, you're gonna have this. So it doesn't stop there. You really need to learn how to deal with the haters, and you really need to be able to find your center and process this information through an intentional, like, examination of what's happening, as opposed to reacting with your feelings, because initially it's just your feelings and maybe a little bit embarrassment if you're like lashing out at somebody on social media, but
Mhm.
eventually it's big money, and we're going to talk about some of that in a second here too. Okay.
Great.
But what are haters? Essentially like bullies, right? They're just trying to get over on you.
Yeah.
They're making themselves feel better by trying to make you feel like crap. and
Mhm.
and if there's two kinds of people on this planet. There are people that get their energy very organically, right? From God, from the sun, from the earth, from the universe. Like, they just, energy flows through them and it comes through them. And the other kind of people are the people who get their energy from other people,
Mhm.
right? And they don't feel good. Those are your bullies. These are the people that are just always putting other people down because that makes them feel better. And so
Yeah.
by stealing your energy, if you allow them to take it, and somebody can only make you feel bad with your permission, right?
Mhm.
By if you give them permission to take your energy, then that's what happens with them. When you don't give them permission to take your energy and you don't react that way, then, by the way, first of all, it stops the bullies, it stops the hate from
Yeah.
that person, because they're like, they're not getting the reaction. They need that energy of the reaction. If they
Mhm.
don't get that reaction, then it's no fun anymore for them.
Well, they say don't feed the trolls, right? Don't feed them.
Exactly, yes, and that's
Yes.
it, and that's why, because that's where they're getting their energy from. The question is, are you a food source or not, you know?
Yeah.
And the good news is you get to decide that, you know?
Yeah. Now that
So
doesn't mean that, I'd say when you're an ascending artist, it's more they're trying to get a rise out of you. Now, all these people, like say for Taylor Swift or Beyonce, coming over to country or whatever the hate of the week is, they're not trying to get Taylor Swift's attention. Probably they'd love it if they could, but they're using it
right.
to build their own platform, to tell their own jokes, to get attention. It's so not personal because they're using your brand to try and get a joke.
Yes.
It's like, is there a version of late night talk shows? How they, I remember this is a long time ago, but watching Leno and some of those shows a long time ago, and I'd watch a monologue and it hit me one day. I was like, they're just kind of making fun of people,
Yeah.
to get a laugh. The people aren't there they're making fun of, but they tell news stories or whatever, and sometimes they're just kind of mean spirited. I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing on social media today. People are taking shots,
Yep.
just trying to build their own profile, build their own brand, look cool, look funny, look in the know, look like they're one of the cool kids. Because hey, everyone hates Nickelback now. We all got the memo. We all hate them now. Let's go, people. We all hate Nickelback now. Go.
Yeah. Oh my god. It just reminds me of one of those backwards tracking jokes. We were just talking about Ozzy and Judas Priest. They're like, if you
Mhm.
play the record backwards, which who the hell plays the record backwards? Like,
I mean, I
you
tried that in
only
like
people
the
looking to find
80s.
something that they can
Oh,
be
in the
angry about.
no, man, back in the 80s, my cousin and I would like get some record and we're trying to play this Queen record backwards or like moving it with our finger, trying to see if we could hear like Freddy is the Devil or whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I never heard
But
anything.
but you're looking for it.
Oh
That's the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You're, like,
because
looking
we'd
for it.
heard there was stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and so the only people doing that are people that are actually out there on with an agenda trying to find something,
Yeah,
otherwise,
yeah.
everybody else is like, "You should probably play it forwards because you can hear the music," but
It sounds
that was the
better.
old joke with
Yeah.
Nickelback. It's like, if you play Nickelback record backwards, you can hear the devil, but what's worse is if you play a Nickelback record forwards, you hear Nickelback. Like, that was the best hater joke.
That's
I was
funny.
like, "Oh, man," I like, "That's horrible, but that's really good." Like, that's good. So, I go back to my first bully experience in the way that I was forced to deal with it because of the way my father framed it and how he handled it. You gotta know that my dad's is a Marine,
Mhm.
and it's all about taking care of yourself. And yeah, fifth grade, I'm in a new town. I don't have any friends. It's first day on the bus, and right out of the gate, I mean, I'm already feeling bad, man. By fourth grade, where I had to leave that old town, I've had some good friends there that I left, and
Mhm.
this was a little traumatic for me. It wasn't very exciting, and bad, bad, bad. And then first day at a school on the bus, and I never ridden the bus before because I always rode my bike to school in my old place,
Mhm.
and now I got a bully. Like, what the hell? Like, this just can't get any worse. Like, you gotta
Yeah.
be kidding me. And I went home and told my dad, and I said, "What are you gonna do about it?" And he was like, "Nothing." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, I'm not gonna do anything. I can't help you with this." And I don't know how he looked at me with a straight face, with the face that I must have had, which was
Yeah.
like a complete abandonment and
Right.
betrayal,
Yeah.
And I was like, "You're supposed to protect me." He's like, "I can't on this." Because and this is like a lesson I've carried with me forever. It's maybe one of the most valuable lessons he ever gave me. But he's like, "Son, you're gonna meet an a-hole like that every single day of your life, without a doubt. And I can't be there to protect you from them all." So I don't want you guys to fall into this. We're very much in this politically spun oppressor and oppressed environment,
Mhm.
and the whole anti-bully thing. Like, nobody wants a bully. If there's anything we can do to prevent bullying, it's always a good idea. But the idea that you're ever going to eradicate bullying is false. It's always gonna be around,
You're gonna have to
and
eradicate human nature. Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna have to, and so, be but what that line of thinking does, while it's well intentioned and it comes from a good place, is it teaches us to be victims, right? It teaches us to be like,
Mhm.
well, if we can't eliminate this bully and therefore we can't eliminate bullying, then now I'm going to have to suffer
Yeah.
with this bully. And that's not the case. Like it's up to you to choose that. And this is really huge because we're talking about haters here like on social media and stuff, but this is now we're going to take it up a level.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to talk about reaching your hopes and dreams and everything that where you go on an incredible run of success.
Okay.
And you're arguably at the top of your game.
Mhm.
And guess what? Still got haters.
They're gonna
Still
have
got
more.
bullies. Still got people that are in the no, but people that are in your way that are literally in your way. Not
Yeah.
like trying to make you feel bad, but people that are in your way. So we're gonna talk about like real quick Motley Crue here.
Okay.
They sold 40,000 records, an indie record that they made in Los Angeles. You have to realize when Motley Crue first came out in the early '80s, they had a lot of makeup on. They kinda almost looked like chicks, but they weren't like
Mhm.
effeminate like Poison took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
But Nikki Sixx would light himself on frickin' fire. I mean, this looks like some kinda sick circus sideshow.
Yeah.
Okay, it does not look like a rock band or a rock act or anything, and everybody was, like, literally appalled by it. Nobody was gonna find it. And then they went and they sold 40,000 records on their own. There's a
Mhm.
bidding war, and Elektra Records won, and they signed with Elektra Records. The president of Elektra Records, this is somebody that can stand in your way,
Mhm.
hated it.
Yeah.
Elektra this was, Elektra's first foray into rock
Mhm.
for an artist roster. Before that, it was all artistes, like
Hmm.
singers and songwriters like Bette Midler and these incredibly talented people that, Elektra was a very highbrow brand, right? This is like a Cadillac brand. We are not driving around the gutter picking up gutter rats from the, friggin' Hollywood and trying to
Yeah.
turn them into stars. And that's exactly how that president felt. And they put out the next record, which was "Shout at the Devil," right? And they
Mm.
went on tour with Ozzy Osbourne. That thing blew up. It did incredibly well for them. They were on their way. Then "Girls, Girls, Girls" did really good, and then they had not "Girls, Girls." That was the next was "Theater of Pain." So "Theater of Pain" comes out, and the band wants to release. I mean, if I say Motley Crue, name probably their most popular song, what would you say it would be?
I'm trying to think back to the '80s now. Um, well, you got me. I'm thinking of the girls, girls, girls. Now, what do we got here? Well, I think I'd like Dr. Feelgood, Kickstart My Heart.
Well, most people would think, probably "Home Sweet Home."
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Ballad, it
Mhm.
really sorta after that song and that video, it just blew that record up to a whole 'nother level, and then every rock band after that had a ballad on
Mhm.
on the thing. Well, "Home Sweet Home," label
Mhm.
hated it.
Yeah.
You know who paid for that video?
I'm
Motley
guessing
Crue.
Crew. Yeah.
And they put it on MTV, and it was like I think to this day that it is the most spun video in the history of MTV.
Oh wow.
So here's a situation where they're getting haters from their own team.
Mhm.
They're supposed to know better, and they're like, "Nah, we think this is good." And we're gonna do it, right? And so, boom, they go and they do it, and it blows up. It's absolutely huge, and they never had a number one record until Doctor Feelgood, which was
Okay.
Kickstart My Heart and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And the whole time, I mean. Of course, if one person in the corporate world goes to the president, like, "Oh, well, we don't like this about Motley Crue," the president's going to agree because he hates them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The band, the president of your label hates you, and then they hit number one
Mhm.
with Doctor Feelgood, and then this guy tries to call Nikki and tell him congratulations. He always believed in him, and Nicky told him to go F himself. This is what I mean by centered, people. This is not irreverent when it's right. You know, he's been dealing with this for a long, long time, and they hated him so bad that, like, literally when the whole relationship fell apart, they still owed Nicky money, and he was like, you know what? Just they owed the band money. The label did, and they're like, look,
Mhm.
just give us our masters and we'll call it even.
Oh.
And they said, okay. Now that moment right there, that decision right there, where I talk about like think about Bruce Lee, right? Where it's like, you know, you have to be like water. You
Right,
know, like
yeah.
his whole fighting style was to take the momentum that somebody was using to throw a punch at you or a
Mhm.
kick at you, and then move in such a way that you're actually gonna take that inertia, that energy, that negative energy coming towards you and put it back at him. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what Nicky did brilliantly. You know, he's like, you know, after he tells him to go screw himself and they're gonna end their relationship with Elektra, they still owe him money, like $15 million. Like, you know what? Just give us the masters and we'll call it even. And they're like, okay. And to date, those masters have generated over $150 million of revenue and have
Yeah.
been probably, if it's not the sole reason, it's the major reason why Motley Crue can still afford to tour
Mhm.
and still afford to keep that brand going this many years after the fact, where most of the 80s bands aren't relevant anymore.
Yeah.
It kept them relevant because they were getting the revenue and not the
Mhm.
label, you know,
Yeah.
and that happened because they were faced with all these haters, but they didn't let that stop them. And they look, they're like, okay, well, you can hate us all you want, but we're gonna spend the money and make this video, and we're gonna, you know, give us the masters, right? That kind of a thing. I think of Howard Stern,
Mhm.
who, you know, was just finally found his voice, started to become himself, and then all of a sudden started to skyrocket. And he was like one of the first shock jocks.
Yeah.
And he's in Washington D.C. and he has the #1 show in Washington D.C. And his share in Washington D.C. was beating the #1 show in NBC, the flagship station in New York, which is the #1 radio market in the country.
Mm.
And by the way, his dream of dreams, like artists, what's a typical artist's dream, a pinnacle of like a bucket list thing to do, Brent? I
Play
got one in
Madison
mind
Square
right now.
Garden?
Hey, Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So for him, it was be on NBC radio, the flagship cornerstone station in New York. That means you're in the #1 market. That means you've made it. And there's no higher place to go because at that time, Sirius XM and a half a billion contract didn't exist yet, right?
Yeah.
So he's #1 in the market. He gets hired they hired him simply because he was #1 in DC, and his numbers were beating the numbers of their #1 DJ for the same slot in New York, and so they just said, "Get him." Nobody listened to the show.
That might have been a mistake.
Yep. Nobody listened to the show, and he gets there, and I mean, think about how you would feel like you're gonna go play Madison Square Garden. This is it. You've earned it. Like, you have worked your butt off for years to
Yeah.
get here, all that, and then you get in there, and then somebody's like, "Oh, wait, hold on a second. This isn't gonna happen. We're gonna
Yeah.
try to take it away from you," you know? Um, that is exactly what happened to him, and he had to fight. They tore apart his team. They
Mhm.
separated him and Fred, and they separated, Robin, and they just tried to, like, pound him and terrorize him, literally terrorize him into quitting because his contract was solid, and he wouldn't give up until finally he hit #1 in New York.
Hmm.
And then they laid off him, you know?
Yeah.
But haters, man, from inside. Here's one I'll bet you didn't know. You know what the biggest In Excess record was?
I mean, I'm imagining it's like "Need You Tonight," whatever that record,
Mhm.
"Devil
Called Kick.
Inside." Kick,
Yep.
yeah.
Called Kick. Devil Inside,
You're
Need You
you're testing
Tonight.
my knowledge of stuff like 30 years ago.
Uh-huh. Never
Okay,
Tear Us
just
Apart. I mean, there was like, I think 4 or 5 top 10 singles on that.
yeah.
Okay, you wanna talk about haters right now, people? Atlantic Records heard that and said, "This is never gonna work.
Hmm.
And we will," and by this time, they'd already had hits on the radio, and so the label, like, believed in him, but was hating on the record and said, "We will pay you $1 million in cash to scrap this record and go back and start over.
Wow. That's the only NXS stuff I know is that record.
Yeah. Think about that. That's freaking crazy. That's crazy. You know? And they said, "No, we're gonna put out," and actually they did a couple things behind the scenes,
Mhm.
to sort of boost up the popularity of that record because they still needed to get the corporation to do something, right?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I think it's sold over 10 million copies. Like it's a huge, huge, huge mega record. So
Yeah.
when you're dealing with haters, guys, it's their baggage. It's not yours, you know? Your job is not, and you could never be loved by all people. You can never be all things to all people. And that's what artists want, though. You know,
Yeah.
they want to be loved, they want to be all that, but you have to know it's going to come with some haters. And so wear it like a badge of honor, you know? When someone's hating on you, don't feel bad about it. You honestly have to look at yourself and say, bless your heart. Because when you're getting hated on like that, I want you to think about the incredible amount of energy, negative energy that it took for someone to, first of all, think that about
Mhm.
you when you caused them no harm, right?
Yeah.
And then type that down or write that down or yell it out at a concert or
Mhm.
something. And then somehow make sure that it's delivered to you and that
Yeah.
you see it. That is just something that no artist would do, right? We're peace, love, and grooviness. Like we
Yeah.
we don't have that much negative energy in us, and
Mhm.
that is exhausting. And really, that's where the empathy should go, right? Like, oh my god, what's happening? You know,
Yeah.
um, every time I've ever been hated on, like with an email or something like that, I'm like, hey, because I know I didn't do them wrong. I'm like, are you okay? You
Mhm.
know, is there like what's going on? Because I know you must be having a bad day because I didn't do this. So, you know, is there something I can help you with?
Mhm.
And 100% of the time, it completely turns around to, I'm so sorry, man. I am having a bad day. And this is what happened. Like, okay, cool. You know, I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. But you know, and they're apologizing to me. It's like, hey, man, I never took it the wrong way. You know, like I knew this was just you venting, right?
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think sometimes that, especially the haters know you or are in your proximity. You know, a lot of artists have a ability to walk into a room and they're like the blue bug light and they attract everybody. You
Yeah.
know, they just like I know for me, I know Janelle's the same way. Like we walk in, there are people we don't even know come up and want to tell us their life story. You know, they just
Mhm.
feel like it's okay to open up. Well, sometimes that energy manifests itself negatively. You know,
Mhm.
so um,
Well,
so you need to wear.
you know what they say, about hurt people, you know?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and I think that's true a lot of it. Either they're just trying to use you for their own glorification of whatever, or they're just looking to hurt somebody because they hurt. And knowing that I think can help you go, okay, this is not personal. Um, and so I think that's just an important thing to realize
Yeah.
that, you know, oh, well, the saying, some of these people that are so negative online, you just want to go, they must be really fun at parties.
Yeah, right? I mean,
You know,
that person has to wake up and be them tomorrow
That's
too,
what
and that
that's what I've told
sucks.
people before is like, "Man, you had to deal with them for a second, but they gotta be them all day long." And just having that frame of, I mean, not just belittling people or whatever, but just realizing, like, to have that kinda venom stirred up in you, not good. Like,
No.
sorry, sucks to be you. I'm sorry about that. I don't have to say that to you. I just go on my merry little way,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, but by all means, you just can't let it get under your skin, you
Yeah,
know, because it's got nothing to do with you for
yeah.
sure, you know? So, on that note, I mean, I'm gonna wrap it up here and just say, like, wear the haters like a badge of honor, man. No, the more you get, the better you're doing, okay?
Mhm,
And because that means you got 10 times the amount of lovers, you know, the people that are loving you. And I think a lot of times too, artists maybe try to curate the optics on social media.
mhm.
Don't.
Yeah,
Leave the negativity up.
mhm.
It's real. It's a real emotion. I know if you're an artist that you pride yourself on being authentic, Don't
Mhm.
you dare go curating the real comments and the real feelings from people, no matter how negative they are.
Mhm.
That's not authentic, by the way. That's milquetoast,
Yeah.
okay? And leave it up there because, by the way, you remember we were talking before about how some people are frameworked, they love an underdog or
Yeah.
whatever. Well, there are people that will go to a music video and go to check out an artist, and the top comment is horrible. And before they even look at the dang video, they're gonna go defend that artist
Yeah.
because they don't because they're there to fight for the underdog.
Mhm.
That's part of their core value, you know?
I mean, you can
So
see that
so
in politics that some people will defend their politician of choice. Even harder they're gonna dig in their heels when they see the other side, the more over the top they are in their hatred and their attack of that opponent, like, even the more those people are gonna like, that politician's team is gonna rally around them.
yeah,
Like, you're just
yeah,
digging people's heels in, and so it happens in politics, you can see it, and I think it happens in music too, that, like, it's gonna rally people that already love you, like, your not your haters, but your lovers, even more so dig in their heels, like, "No, that's my guy, don't mess with my guy."
yeah, that's right, that's right. I mean, I've had that happen with artists where like, actually very specific to this part of the show that we're talking about was, like, leave the negativity up on social media. I had a young artist, I was working with a young female, she was, like, 13 maybe, and
Mhm,
she had developed a pretty nice following on social media, like 40, 50,000, and these kids, like, lied on traffic for this little girl, you know?
mhm,
They absolutely loved her. And, um her parents who were managing her social media would systematically curate out all the negative
mhm,
stuff. And I said, "Stop doing that." Because here's the reality. I'll bet everybody listening to my voice right now, if you don't have one of these yourself, you know somebody who does, who has a best friend, the ride or die homie that will go to the ends of the earth no matter what for their friend that
mhm,
started out in contention.
yeah.
They initially hated each other.
It's every rom-com, baby, every rom-com.
Yeah, because it's real, but listen, great relationships are forged out of adversity. And so that's again, it's like don't be milk toast. Leave that up there. That's proof that you're real, by the way. When you get that kind of a profound reaction, it's going to trigger another kind of profound reaction on the other
Mhm.
side from somebody else. And your fans will defend you. I told the parents of this artist, I'm like, leave it up. They're like, "Are you kidding?" I'm like, "No, leave up the negative comments." So they did. And God bless that boy that said something horrible to her because they were vultures. I mean, it was like literally all mom and dad and me got scared. Those kids were friggin' vicious, right? And they just tore that kid to shreds, man. It's like, it's a starving pack of pigs in a barn when you throw them a dead body, in like seconds it's gone, like piranha. It's like, I mean, nothing. And literally, the dad then had to go in at some point and defend the kid, the hater, because he like literally was just being torn apart. So
Yeah.
so know that. So guys, I mean, listen, if you don't feel butthurt with this kind of negativity, you're not human. But I just wanted to give you some tools to process it, some ways to think about it, a lens to look through it so you can realize it's not about you. It doesn't feel good, but it is a good thing.
Mhm.
And be careful, very careful how you handle it, like internally. Don't let that get under your skin. Don't let that cause any self doubt. Don't let that make you quit. Don't let that make you question anything. And externally, you don't go off, don't react, because
Yeah.
sometimes that can be a blessing, right? Like it
Yeah.
was for Motley Crue, or they're gonna be like, no, we're gonna turn this around, or you're gonna need to hold your ground and say, no, this is really good, and my team doesn't like it, but I
Mm.
know that this is good, and I'm gonna have to find another way in to get them back on board and
Yeah.
sell them on this song or this album. Okay,
Or
so
go
that's all.
write a song like "Shake It Off" and go make a few $1,000,000 off of it. That's always pretty good reward too.
That's right, guys. So, hey, man, if you haven't done so already, go download the free the PDF whoever owns the traffic rules the road. It's my gift to you. Just go to giftfromjohnny.com, JOHNNY, giftfromjohnny.com. Tell me where to send it. It is a stout PDF, it's like 38 pages. It's an easy read. There's a lot of pictures in there, don't worry. And it's just going to help you disengage from and understand better how you are marketed to, which was a broadcasting methodology, and then how to be careful not to make the mistakes of trying to do broadcast marketing and promo strategies on a digital platform, because that can work against you. And the more you know, the better off you'll be. All right. So this podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.